guys, it's Dr. B. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the shoulder and specifically the anatomy of the shoulder and how that may put you at more risk for a shoulder impingement issue. So let's get right to it. I have some drawings on the board. This is the shoulder joint, the shoulder complex, and this is from the posterior view, which is actually looking from the back to the front. So this is how the picture is drawn. This is the back of my scapula, and that's considered the posterior view. So right here is going to be the spine of the scapula, and this protrusion up here is actually your acromion. Right here is going to be your clavicle or your collarbone. That's located right here in this region. The acromion hooks over the top, and you have a joint right here called the acromioclavicular joint, or AC joint for short. This right here is the head of your humerus, or this upper bone in your arm. And this right here is what we call the glenoid fossa, and that's what the head of the humerus sits in, and that's what it articulates with. Now, over here are three different variations of your acromion. So like I said, it's that hook bone that comes over the top, and it articulates with the clavicle. So what you want to have, and what's more common, and this is going to give you the best biomechanical advantage, so to speak, is going to be just a flat acromion. Right here, number 2 is just a curved acromion, and this is just a congenital defect, which basically means you're born with it. You're not going to just curve it over time because you're Hercules or something. The worst variation, and this is what puts you at most risk for a rotator cuff injury as well as an impingement syndrome, is going to be what we call a hooked shape. So it's pretty flat, but then here at the end you have a hook. Now you can acquire this to an extent over time through such conditions like osteoarthritis, where it's just a wear and tear, and eventually it breaks down and you get bone formation that forms almost like a beak or a hook. But you can also be born with that as well. So these are the 3 different variations. Now down here I have another picture. This is just a side view. So if I was standing like this facing the camera and you were looking directly at my shoulder and I were to remove my humerus, this is what it would look like. So this right back here is the acromion of your scapula. This right here is the blade of your scapula, or shoulder blade. And then right here is the coracoid process, which you haven't talked about yet, but it actually is right here. It comes from the back and it hooks through, and right here is that process. It feels just like a very bony point. Your pec minor, which is just one of your pectoral muscles underneath the largest one, which is your pec major, attaches right there. And this little egg-shaped portion is actually what we call the glenoid fossa. So the shoulder itself is inherently unstable. It's essentially a golf ball on a golf tee. The glenoid fossa is very shallow. It's a very concave, almost like a bowl, and then the head of the humerus kind of articulates in there, but it's much larger. And so one way that the body has is designed to help kind of support this and also provide extra attachment sites for muscles, tendons, ligaments is going to be a ring of cartilaginous tissue, and that's actually called a labrum. And you know, that also is an area where you may have some injuries further down the line, and we'll talk about this in a later video, but something a lot of people are coming with is what we call a slap lesion, and I'll explain that, so look for that in another video. But that's the anatomy of the shoulder. I hope it helps. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on Instagram @SportsPod or Twitter @TheSportsPod, #AskDr.B. Have a good one.